Well, the Bears still suck. We lost last night to a rookie quarterback and head coach Kevin O'Connell, who looks like a living Ken doll. The dude's jaw is magnificent. You could split wood on it. These two ran roughshod over Chicago at their house. So for the 20th year in a row, the entire NFC North has better quarterbacks than the Chicago Bears. I'm not going to sit here and do this all show, but I mean, there was a lot of hype, and it was such a big letdown. Such a big letdown. So we're going to start the show with that. Simply, the Bears still suck. I was thinking about putting some Bears stuff up back here. We're still going to decide what other things we're going to put up here. I was considering some Bears memorabilia. I've got this beautiful painting of Walter diving over the line, majestic. That was the last time the Bears were honestly any good. I'm not doing that now. It'll just raise questions and conversation that I'm not emotionally prepared to have right now. We still suck. All right. I told you that we're not going to just do the Epstein stuff just to do it. We're not doing that show. We've got so much other important stuff to get to. But if anything new came out or any new revelations, any new details are added, anything at all, we would share it with you. And in that vein, the subpoena by the Oversight Committee has yielded the birthday book. The birthday book is now public record. Here was the letter from Donald Trump. This is what it looks like, the letter from Donald Trump. Allegedly. Thank you, Scott. Allegedly. This is the one of many, 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 and we're going to get into some of it. We're going to get into some of it because more details are out, but this is the one from Trump. May every day be another wonderful secret. This, that. You remember. You've heard it. We're not going to rehash. Ew. Ew. And there's this little signature where hair would be. That's very classy, Mr. Trump. Nice job, allegedly. You know the one. Unfortunately, that refreshes your memory right there. Unfortunately, your memory is immediately refreshed by that disturbing image that was given allegedly from Trump to Epstein for his 50th birthday. Now, it's a 238-page book littered with candid photos, drawings, and collages. Okay, it was released. I've flipped through it. Scotty had it for me. I flipped through it. Honestly, Scott, some of that stuff is kind of shocking. I learned a couple things from that book. One, rich people have very little shame when dealing with each other, right? It's all out there. Sixth gear. Some of those photos, sexual positions, lots of young girls. The other thing I learned is rich people have messy ass handwriting, and you can't really read a lot of it. It's crazy scribbles, scrawls, but it has been released. 238 pages. 238 pages. Now, it was compiled by then-girlfriend Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, this next bit, for me, is it betrays just how sick Jeffrey Epstein was. The sickness involved. It opens with a foreword from his mother. Details about his bar mitzvah, details about when he was named most eligible bachelor at 27, report cards, high school grades. It was a nice open by his mother. And if you go and you check out the documents, you can get them all now. You can go find them. Go check out some of the stuff that's in this book that was forwarded by his mother. You can go get it at the Oversight website, the Oversight Committee website, actually. Thank you, Scott. You can get it at the Oversight Committee's website. Okay, now, after that nice little open by his mother, it goes on to get crude, dark, and many, many references to Epstein's sexual exploits. I'm going to share some of them with you. One friend compared him to the main character of Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea, except instead of fish, Epstein caught women, blonde, red, and brunette. That's about as innocuous as it gets. That's about as benign as any of it is. One friend described a demeaning sexual encounter with a young lady in a limo. Honestly, the details of it, I was going to share it, but really, I'm getting shied away. Like, you're going to see how brown people can blush, and I don't want to prove it. Like, it's disgusting. So many girls, so little time. Another friend wrote, so many girls, so little time. Not so many women, so many girls, so little time. There was one pic that was simply disturbing. And I'm going to explain it to you. It's a little crude, and there's a lot going on in this small image on the screen. So if you can't see it, I'm going to lightly describe what you're seeing there. Half the pic is, I'm assuming, what is Epstein giving balloons to young children. And next to it is Epstein, presumably nude, in a beach chair with four. You can decide what age that is depicted these girls are. You can decide for yourself. I can't decide that for you. All topless with their hands on him somehow. This picture was in the book. That 1983 and 2003. 1983 is the picture with the little kids. In 2003, that's at the bottom there. 2003 is the picture, at the beach. That picture right there is in a book that was forwarded by his mother. Venture capitalist William Elkus described how Mr. Epstein, he visited a farm. He visited Elkus out at a farm in Iowa. And Elkus describes how Epstein had, like magic, presented a young, tall blonde at will on this farm. And he couldn't tell the difference between the girls and the hogs. I don't know what to do with that little bit. Honestly, I really don't know. So this guy, Elkus, then started dating the blonde that Epstein had produced, took her back to New York via, in his words, a long-distance escort service. Okay. Elkus, reached by phone on Monday, said it was all meant to be a joke and said his note was a reference to Mr. Epstein's charisma, which was palpable. Okay. One person named Leslie wrote, I wanted to get you what you want, so here it is. And then there was breasts. Another one had real-life depictions of animals, lions, zebras, and other jungle animals and having sex. Another, in one of the letters, it alluded to in the mid-1970s when Epstein discovered the Maxwell teen-aged daughter. That, to me, it made the hairs stand up for me. That is so deeply disturbing and revelatory in my eyes. Is this where it started? His predatory behavior with Ghislaine began this whole thing? Is that why she was so versed and willing and effective at grooming all of these other girls? Because he had done it to her first. Yeah. Another poem written to him marveled at how Epstein had managed to avoid the penitentiary. I mean, there was notes by Alan Dershowitz, Leslie Wexner, that might have been the Leslie. One Jean-Luc Brunei, he was a French modeling scout who died in 2022 by suicide in a French jail after being charged with raping teenage girls. He was in this book. Some of the women involved in this abuse also signed the book. One woman wrote, with you, dear Jeffrey, I laugh like a little girl and feel like a woman. And that was accompanied with a hand-drawn heart and a woman's buttocks in a thong. Another assistant described how Mr. Epstein transformed her life. She was a 22-year-old woman who had been divorced and worked at a hotel restaurant. And she said how she met amazing, powerful people through Epstein, including allegedly Mr. Trump, Mr. Clinton, and others, brilliant scientists, lawyers, and businessmen, is what she described. She says, allegedly, specifically named Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump. They are denying that's him in the book. They are denying it flat out, categorically denying that it's Trump in the book.
You know, one thing about this is, I presume someone who is expert can look at signatures and make these judgments. But secondly, it's a weird thing. What year was this?
You know, that's a great question. It was like about 20 years ago.
20 years ago. So 20 years ago, someone stuck this fraudulent piece in Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book. That seems like a weird thing. Someone who said, you know what, I think Donald Trump might be president someday. Let's just stick this in Jeffrey Epstein's birthday book.
Okay, so he's out here defending it. But the question is raised. Is that his signature?
The White House press secretary tweeted, quote, "It's very clear President Trump did not draw this picture and he did not sign it." The deputy White House chief of staff said, quote, "It's not his signature." And of course, when you look at the signature, you can judge for yourself. There's a lot of examples of the president from that same era of when this birthday book was compiled, signing his name in a similar style, like this 1996 letter to then New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani, or this 1995 letter to a member of a local Palm Beach commission. There's also that 1999 letter to the legendary CNN host Larry King that you see here, and a 1984 letter to the executive editor of the New York Times. There's even an inscription in a Trump book that Epstein owned from 1997 that the New York Times recently published. Those are the signatures there. Of course, this is the one the White House is denying is the president's tonight.
Okay, I'm going to let you grab me that signature one. Grab me the signature one, Scotty. Yeah. I'm going to grab you signatures. I'm going to grab you signatures. All right, I want you to make a decision, okay? You guys are going to play this along with me. Make a decision. Is that all the same signature? Now, the one on the top left, that is the one from the birthday book. Next to it to the right is from July 2001. Below, middle left, that's 1998. Middle right, that's 1998 as well. Bottom left, that's 1995. Bottom right, that's May 1987. 5 of those, everything but the top left, are verifiably, fact-checkably Trump's signature. It's only the one on the top left there that Trump and his sycophants, his allies, and his lawyers are saying, that's not Don's. I want to sear that into your brain. Look at that. Look at that. Trump claims all of them except the top left. The top left he's claiming is not his. That goes well beyond lying. Okay, that goes well beyond lying. That goes into the land of you are absolutely stupid, or I need you to suspend any rational thought in loyalty to me right now. Okay? I need you to suspend all rational thought in loyalty to me right now. That's you decide. You decide which one you fall under. If you're going to defend this, if you're a Trump supporter and you're going to defend this, which one is it? Is it because it can't be, it's not the truth. That's not an option I'm giving you. Trump is clearly lying. So, is this, I think you're this stupid? Or is it, you need to get on board that I'm going to say things that are going to be that are going to fly in the face of reality. And you need to be ready to defend me. How loyal are you? How loyal are you? Many of you will do anything to defend your vote for him. So now here's yet another thing you must do to defend your support for this man. No matter how rational or reasonable you may sound, this is another thing that you have to defend. He either thinks you're very, very stupid, or he's telling you right now very clearly, get on board with whatever the hell I say. Dump reality.
It's time for a quick break, then we break some more. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. You're back with Brett Breaks Things. because democracy doesn't defend itself.
Donald Trump's lead argument just went out the window, Caitlin, because you said the key word in the intro to this show, non-existent. Twice in the complaint that Donald Trump brought to initiate this lawsuit, he claims the letter is non-existent. Now we know that it is quite existent, so to speak. And it's really important. Jasmine Crockett just made this point. The way that this letter came about is relevant because it's not as if the Wall Street Journal just said, aha, here's an image of the letter. No, we now have seen it because Congress, the House, subpoenaed it from the Epstein estate. And that's exactly where you would expect to find it if it was as the Wall Street Journal says it was. And now Donald Trump is falling back to argument B, which is I didn't sign it. But you know what? Legally, that actually doesn't matter. We're all going to get out our magnifying glasses and analyze how does he draw his letter D and letter L. Doesn't matter because the Wall Street Journal doesn't say definitively that he signed it. They're actually quite lawyerly and hedged. And what they do say is it's uncertain how this letter came about. So even that is not going to get Donald Trump anywhere. He's running out of options. I think this lawsuit was a long shot from the start, and it just got quite a bit longer.
So, Trump supporters, if you don't need convincing by Don to be loyal, then so be it. But for those of you that may have a limit to how much you get lied to, I feel like in a very short amount of time, prove to you that he's lying about the signature. If you are a rational human being with cognitive thought and critical thinking skills, you take a look at those signatures and you come to the reasonable conclusion that they were all written by the same man. All right, so he's lying about the signature. Now, he said out of his own mouth this birthday book was non-existent, didn't exist. I'm reading you excerpts from it. So he lied again. He lied again. It's been released via the subpoena from the Oversight Committee. We have it. This is not a matter of debate anymore. If you're one of those Trump supporters who are really good at taking his lies and then like chopping it, flipping it, laying it out in a different angle, and then making some kind of like defensive argument out of it, like you guys are getting good at that. Some of you are very good at that. I mean, just listen to Charlie Kirk for 5 minutes and you can see how skilled people can be at doing the mental gymnastics needed to lay out Trump's lies and misdeeds in a way that are palatable to his base. But if you're not one of those that are skilled in this particular art, where's your breaking point? How much are you willing to be lied to? Carolyn Levitt, I don't know. I haven't decided, Scott. I haven't decided if Trump, when he's talking to Carolyn Levitt about some of this stuff, now let's say particularly this Epstein thing, right? Specifically this drawing, this drawing of a woman with the writing inside and the signature. When discussing it with Carolyn Levitt, is he like, Carolyn, it's not me. It's this Democrat hoax. I need you to get out there and defend me because I'm innocent. Or is he, Carolyn, I absolutely wrote that letter. That pubic hair signature was hilarious and I'm proud of it. I 100% did this, and I need you to be better prepared to go out there and lie about it. Is it option A or option B when he discusses it with Carolyn Levitt? I'll let you think about that. I think that he's so ego, pride, perception driven that he can't even be perceived by the person he needs to trust and that needs to trust him the most. He can't even be perceived to that person as something that he actually is. He needs to have that Trumpian super ego that he presents to the world, even to her. That's what I'm going to go with. That he's just like, Carolyn, these Democrats are all over me. It's a lie. Please defend me. And she's willing to do that. She said, as I have said all along, it's very clear that President Trump did not draw this picture and he did not sign it. All right, Carolyn. He certainly picked the right person for that job. He 100% did. He 100% did. There was another interesting to me picture that showed up in this is really despicable. Joel Pascal had a letter in the book that referenced Trump, Now, Pascal was a longtime Mar-a-Lago member and a businessman, a friend of Trump's. And he alluded to Trump and Epstein courting the same woman. And then this picture appeared. Let me show you this picture. This is a poster board sized check for $22,500, which had been mocked up to appear that it was sent from Trump to Epstein. And beneath it, a caption said, Jeffrey, showing early talents with money and women, sells fully depreciated, and then there's a woman's name. I've redacted, it's been redacted here in the reporting out of the New York Times. It's been redacted, but there's a woman's name, and then to Donald Trump for $22,500. So this woman, she's a wealthy European in her 20s at the time. She severed all ties to Epstein in 1997 and claims she had no relationship with Epstein or Trump through her lawyer. She claimed this, but the lawyer also claimed that this is a deeply disturbing and disgusting hoax. But from all accounts, they had fought over this woman, and Trump had won. And then sold her back, or Epstein had sold her to Trump for $22,500, fully depreciated. I'm not sure what's happening with that joke 100%. I don't want to. Yeah. So right, Epstein. So Epstein feigned losing the battle, and Trump had to send Epstein $22,500 for this fully depreciated woman. And so that was the check you saw. It was a big mocked up check. Like I said, it was mocked up with Trump at the bottom of it with that little note. I don't know. That's really bad. In case you were wondering what these guys think about women, how Trump feels about women, the respect he has for women. And by the way, a new quote came out by Trump. He went on one of his diatribes. Was it this morning, Scotty? Yesterday. Okay, yesterday at the Bible Museum. He said, he's talking about 87% of crimes aren't really crimes, something like that. And then he went on to say, like these fights between men and women, husband and wife, they get in a little fight and then they call it a crime. It's just a little fight, no real crime. When a husband knocks, bangs him to the moon type action. It's just a fight, just a little fight, just a little tiff. And they call it a crime. All these false crimes of men abusing their wives. Just in case you were wondering how he felt about it. Jasmine Crockett, she's always got something to say about this guy. Oh, wrong one. Wrong.
And so, this idea that he wasn't close to him is crazy. But I do think that it's going to be so important for us to really dig in, because what we are ascertaining is, number one, there were lots of modeling agencies that were doing things, and the modeling agency was basically a farce. And there's a lot of people that we want to talk to, and a lot of these models came from foreign countries. I'm just leave it there.
Anyone specific?
I'm going to leave it there, but I am trying to dig on a certain thread, for sure.
So that begs the question.
All right, she's, without saying it, she's saying these model agencies were a front for a sex trafficking ring. She's the one who dug through them. She actually did her homework, okay? When it comes time for a discharge petition and she signs it, unlike some of the people in Congress, she'll know what she's signing because she's read it. And she doesn't want to go too far out on a limb right now. She's being judicious with her wording, and that's smart. But she's basically telling you there's modeling agencies mentioned in here that were fronts for sex trafficking rings. Okay, like Mr. Jean-Luc, who killed himself in a French jail for raping young women, that ran a modeling agency. She would know. Like I said, she's been through it. Now, Mike Johnson put his foot in his mouth. The dude tries. He's scrappy. He tries to get out there and lie with the best of them. In my opinion, he's got the same problem I have, which is sometimes I talk too fast. right? And sometimes I talk too fast and things come out in the middle of things that maybe wasn't exactly planned, shall we say. I'll be nice to myself. I think Mike's got the same problem. Sometimes he gets so nervous and he starts to really rapid fire the lies, and he has a hard time keeping them straight in real time. And I think he pulled one of those again.
Starting Monday, the Jeffrey Epstein estate will begin handing over documents to the House Oversight Committee, and bipartisan staffers will get a look at unredacted versions of Epstein's Black Book and Birthday Book. But as they continue to seek interviews with key figures who may have played a role in the investigation, a new claim is emerging on Donald Trump's role.
He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down.
He's an FBI informant. What? When I heard that, I didn't think like Junior G, man, altruistic citizen FBI partnership. I thought like Whitey Bulger, FBI informant, like the organizer of most of the crime, getting on board with the FBI so he never becomes a target. But it turns out that's not even true too. I would have loved to have ran with that story. But unfortunately I can't. There's what he's referring to, and he walked it back. The speaker is reiterating what the victim's attorney had said, which is that Donald Trump, who kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, was the only one more than a decade ago willing to help prosecutors expose Epstein for being a disgusting child predator. And even the lawyer, Bradley Edwards, for the victims had said something similar himself. He said, yeah, at the time, Trump was not a target of the investigation, so he was very, very helpful. He answered all our questions, gave us information, didn't stand in the way of the investigation at all like some others did. That's what Mike's talking about. But he got talking too fast and his lies started coming out, and, he's an FBI informant slipped out. All right, we're not going to kill you for that one, Mike. It's just, I hoped you were actually being literal. A part of me did.
We'll be back to break it all down. You're listening to Brett Breaks Things. Brett Breaks Things, fighting for America one mic drop at a time.
The Supreme Court has lifted restrictions on federal immigration officials in Southern California. Under today's ruling, they will once again be able to stop people they believe may be in the United States illegally based on factors like race, language, or their job. A lower court had previously ruled against so-called roving patrols around the LA area by implementing a temporary restraining order. The Supreme Court did not provide a reason today for its decision to freeze that order.
Okay. Now, I brought you that story originally when the lower court essentially put a stop to their illegal stopping of anybody brown and detaining them, questioning them, harassing them, violently detaining them. That has now been lifted. It has been lifted by the Supreme Court, and they are not in session. They're not in session until October, did you say, Scotty? I think you said October. Yeah, the Supreme Court doesn't come back till October. So this was an emergency docket, a shadow docket, okay? They don't have to hear any argument, question anybody. It's an opinion. But they made a majority opinion. Lifted the freeze by the lower court judge, and now ICE is free to stop, detain, harass, question, beat upon the head brown people. Just kind of brown people. For now. Now, this is not the final word on it, and I'll get to that. This is not the final word on it, but it is a ruling that applies right now to Southern California. It applies to Southern California right now. But there are plans to move ahead with extremely similar actions in other parts of the country by this administration. Now, with this opinion, they are certainly emboldened. Specifically, they're going to start Operation Midway Blitz. Operation Midway Blitz, where they're going to crack down on undocumented immigrants in the Chicago and generally Illinois area. Now, they had sent the letters out. Pam Bondi sent the letters out from the DOJ warning that if you didn't get in line, that this would happen. Now, we didn't hear from all of the 32 Democratic high-ranking, officials, mayors, House members, the different governors, the different people that the letters were sent to. We didn't hear from all of them, but we did hear from J.B. Pritzker, remember? He had a lot to say. And now he is going to reap the whirlwind. And with this opinion by the Supreme Court, it's going to get ugly. Trump will be going into Chicago. He will be declaring an emergency. I think he's just waiting for that one polarizing incident. One incident where something or someone is attacked, where Trump can point to and say, look at that. How can you not be appalled by that? And that, whatever that is the reason we are to declare an emergency in Chicago and Illinois in general, and we're going to send federal troops in. And when they get there, we've got a Supreme Court opinion about how they are to conduct themselves. We've already laid the blueprint about what it will look like logistically in Washington, D.C., how many, what weapons they'll be carrying, in tandem with what other offices and the DEA, local police, FBI, who's going to be involved. They've got it all worked out. They did a dry run, Washington, with no governor to push back. So here comes the main act. We're going to try it in Chicago. And we're armed with a SCOTUS opinion. And some people said some stuff about it. Now, they didn't have to offer up any quotables. SCOTUS did not. They didn't have to offer up anything, to anybody in terms of an explanation. And from many of them, there was none. But Brett Kavanaugh, he came out and he said something. He said, to be clear, apparent ethnicity alone cannot furnish reasonable suspicion under this court's case law regarding immigration stops. However, it can be a relevant factor when considered along with other salient factors. I'm going to get to what that means in a second. What exactly he means. Sotomayor, she had something to say. We should not have to live in a country where the government can seize anyone who looks Latino, speaks Spanish, and apparently to have work and appears to have worked a low-wage job. Rather than stand idly by while our constitutional freedoms are lost, I dissent. She and two other judges dissented. Now, Angelica Salas, she's the executive director for the Los Angeles-based Coalition for Humane Immigration Rights. She said something I found very interesting, and it kind of sums up the tone of what's going on with this opinion, the severity of it. She says this sends a clear signal to Latino Americans and non-citizens: you do not deserve protection. She expects the tactics by these roving bands of federal officers to step up targeting of Latino neighborhoods, and it's going to become brutal, in her opinion. It's going to get ugly. She said, quote, our Constitution is very clear in that it applies to all persons living in the United States as being entitled to civil rights. Unless you decide we are not people, you are saying we do not have rights in this country, citizen or non-citizen. That's the thing. Because citizens, along with the non-citizens, are going to get swept up in this. Big time. That's the real problem here. That's the big, big problem here. Not just their tactics, who they're going to be using these tactics on. Many of them are going to be citizens. They're going to be citizens. Gavin Newsom is never short on quotables for you. He said, quote, Trump's hand-picked Supreme Court majority just became the grand marshal for a parade of racial terror in Los Angeles. How do you really feel about it, Gavin? By the way, I do think it's important to note that just as we continue with this story, there are 300 pending lawsuits against Trump and his executive orders. I want you to know that. So the fight is ongoing. This fight will be ongoing. It's not over, okay? So this fight isn't over. I'm going to walk you through how this happened, okay? Earlier this year, civil rights organizations and citizens who had been stopped and questioned, all filed a lawsuit seeking class action status. Okay? They accused federal agents of engaging in blatant racial profiling and carrying out indiscriminate immigration operations with no individualized basis for suspicion. That's what their lawsuit is saying. Now, that's going to play out, and it's going to take a while, that lawsuit. It's going to play out. So they had to find out, while this lawsuit plays out, what happens in the meantime? Well, one judge, Mame Usi Mensa Frimpong, she's a federal district court judge in Los Angeles. She said, in the meantime, you have to stop violating their Fourth Amendment. That's what has to happen in the meantime. That's what this lower court judge said. Freeze your activities. You're violating their Fourth Amendment. That's what needs to happen in the meantime. Okay? In August, a three-judge panel on the U.S. Court of Appeals declined to block her order. That means they said, yeah, she's right. It goes to the Court of Appeals. The appeal said, she's good. We're not going to block it. So in steps this bought and paid for Supreme Court. Just like that, John Sauer sought an emergency intervention from the Supreme Court, arguing hanging the prospect of contempt over every investigative stop of suspected illegal aliens would upend the government's ability to enforce immigration laws in Los Angeles. So the Supreme Court ruled, and Brett Kavanaugh stepped in with his 4 other Trump sycophants, bought and paid for, there to carry out Trump's will. They said, go ahead. Here's the thing. Here's how it works. The magic factor in all this is Brown. Kavanaugh is saying, just a brown person, you can't do anything about that. But a brown person at a Home Depot, or a brown person at a job site, a brown person who picks produce, or a brown person simply mowing his lawn. Those combination of factors is legal. Good. You're good to go. And you know the brown factor is the magic factor because a white person mowing his lawn, a white person going to Home Depot, a white person working at a produce plant, they won't be stopped by ICE. It's the magic brown factor. So you're going to have a papers, please environment. A brown citizen walking into Home Depot on a Saturday to get more mulch for his garden can now legally be stopped by ICE. Show me your papers. Show me your birth certificate. Show me you're a citizen. Show me you're here legally right now, or you're coming with me. No, I don't take me. I don't have my birth certificate on me. Well, you're coming with us. Please don't take me. I don't have my passport on. You're coming with us. You're coming with us. I have a visa status. I have asylum claims. My court date's coming up. Can you prove it right now? You're coming with us. And you better hope you don't end up on a plane somewhere on your way out to maybe your country of origin or maybe not. Papers, please. That's where we are. You want authoritarianism? You want a dictator? You want a police state? You've got it. For those people who support Trump that know exactly what they're getting, what exactly they bought with their ticket, they're excited. This is the realization of the America that they envisioned to be best for them and their family and their future. For the rest of us, you better be properly appalled. You better be properly shocked. If you are not shocked by this, if you are not left wondering, what country do I live in now? Then you're in the other category. You knew what you were getting. You knew exactly what you were getting. And this is ramping up. Chicago's next. Chicago's next. Boston. New York. Those three. I'm calling it. I'm calling my shot. Chicago, then Boston, then New York. New York's a bigger lift, but it's coming. That will be the ultimate test. But it's coming. And this movement is armed by a racist 5-justice opinion out of the Supreme Court.
Breaking politics, breaking narratives, breaking news. But first, we need a coffee break. Brett breaks things, where the stakes are high and the truth still matters.
Very serious. And here is the special agent in charge, what he had to say about this raid.
We are making many arrests of undocumented individuals. We have encountered many lawful employees working here, United States citizens and lawful permanent residents, and they are, of course, being released.
Meanwhile, Hyundai says it is cooperating with law enforcement, saying this: we are committed to abiding by labor and immigration regulations. And meanwhile, Omar, on this same day, hundreds of miles away in upstate New York, another large raid at a work site. Dozens of workers at a family-owned plant that makes nutrition bars were also apprehended during an ICE raid. CNN affiliate WSTM reports that about 60 workers were detained. New York's governor condemned this raid, saying it doesn't make their streets safer. And the owner of that nutrition plant told the New York Times that the workers had legal documentation to work in the U.S., calling this ICE raid a, quote, overkill. Omar.
Well, Isabel, thank you for bringing us those details. The scale of those raids, notable at the very least.
Okay, so there was 2 ICE raids, one in New York. That didn't make as much news as the one in Georgia. Okay, so on the heels of the conversation about this SCOTUS decision, we've got this ICE raid story. It's in Georgia. It was last Thursday. It was last Thursday. And some details are coming out. Now, on its face, it looks fairly cut and dry. 500 workers, almost every single one of them South Korean, were detained at a Hyundai battery plant. Okay? They are calling it the largest ever Homeland Security enforcement operation in a single location. Okay? They detained the employees. Many of them were subcontractors there to help finish the plant's production and construction. ICE is claiming they were living here illegally. That's what ICE is claiming. But there's more to this than really meets the eye. And for me, this really got me thinking. Because it's unusual. All right, this is the first time I think I or Scott or most of my audience or any of my audience had heard of a large-scale immigration crackdown on South Korean workers. This is the first time I've heard about it. I've never heard anything like this. I'm guessing these workers had never heard of anything like this as well. Now, the Hispanic community, the Latino community, by now, they know that something like this happening in their community has become commonplace, especially if you're in California. They are, at some level, probably prepared for a raid like this, maybe at their workplace or in their neighborhood, their local Home Depot. A story like this involving 500 Hispanic workers, although would raise your attention, it would get your attention, it wouldn't be odd, especially not right now. But the South Korean angle was odd to me. Scott did really good digging on this. And as I poured through this New York Times article, I was left I was only offered up superficial details and very little explanatory exposition here. And I thought to myself, why? Why? This administration does nothing arbitrarily. It's all about hurting someone or getting back at someone or Donald Trump's bank account or the perception of Donald Trump being bigly, strongly, quickly Everything they do has a specific aim. He's got more intelligent people around him. So when he says to these people, I want to seem bigly, strongly, and quickly, they come up with ways to make him look that way. Nothing they do is arbitrary. So this couldn't be either. Just out of nowhere, the largest scaled ice raid in the country's history involving South Koreans. So I looked, and I wanted an answer as to why. I wanted to point to something specific and say, this is why these ICE agents were sent to this factory in Georgia filled with South Korean workers. This is why. I wanted to put my finger on it. I wanted to be able to digest it, understand it. So I looked at the factors. First factor I looked at, Brian Kemp. His whole thing is attacking opposition governors. It's his favorite pastime. And although Brian Kemp is a popular Republican governor in the state of Georgia, he's Mr. Find Me 11,000 votes. You remember that perfect phone call? Where he said, Mr. President, they don't exist. We can't just go get you 11,000 votes. And ever since then, he was on Trump's bleep list. And we all knew it. He knew it. So I looked at Kemp. And as I looked at what Kemp was doing in Georgia, I found this amazing push out of Kemp to form this really lucrative partnership with South Korea and South Korean businesses in Georgia. Last year, South Korean businesses accounted for $17.5 billion of business coming in and out of Georgia. Third largest trading partner of the state of Georgia, South Korea. They have invested in plants making batteries, semiconductors, solar panels, large-scale bakery and food distribution centers. Brian Kemp himself visited South Korea twice. This is a big thing for Brian Kemp, his relationship with South Korean businesses. And I looked, I said, oh, there it is. Is this to screw up Kemp's plans? To get him out of there and get a more sycophantic governor that's more sympathetic to the Trump agenda in there? At least hurt this guy in some way? He's certainly that petty, at least. But then I look further. Man, Kemp has been on board with this immigration policy. He is all about violating people's Fourth Amendment. He is all about the raids, the detentions, the stops. He is completely on board up to this point with Trump's immigration policy. He even talked about it. He said, in Georgia, we will always enforce the law, including all state and federal immigration laws. All companies operating within the state must follow the laws of Georgia and our nation. He didn't mince words. He's talking about that Hyundai factory, and he's letting them know where he stands on this issue. It's not Kemp. I moved on. Can't be Kemp. At least it didn't look like it could be. Not right there. I moved on. What about Hyundai itself? They have invested a lot in building factories in this country, not just in Georgia, elsewhere. And South Korea as a whole, I kind of zoomed out a little bit and looked at South Korea as a whole. Could he have some kind of beef with South Korea? And the first thing I looked at was, what about the tariffs? What has his relationship with South Korea been over these tariffs? All right, he's got beef with lots of different countries, and those beefs are reflected in their tariff percentage, right? We've already talked about that. Well, just last month, their president, Jae-myung, their president, visited Donald Trump and kissed his ass. And he pledged a future investment of $350 billion in manufacturing in the U.S. for a 15% tariff rate. He came to the table and made a deal and kissed Trump's ass personally. He, at that meeting, said, we'll invest right now $150 billion. Thank you, Mr. Trump, for the opportunity to kiss your ass. That's just what South Korea did. Now, he doesn't have beef with South Korea, and he doesn't have beef with their president, which sometimes it is personal like that. So what is it? What is it? When we zoom in a little bit, and you look at the effect that the South Korean influx of manufacturing has on Georgia itself, specifically, let's take a look at a small town of Pooler, just outside of Savannah. From 2020 to 2024, the population has risen 22%, up to 31,000. That's a giant jump. Since South Korea began getting heavily involved in this area's manufacturing, they have jumped 22% in their population alone. Businesses have popped up. Neighborhoods have popped up. Whole South Korean neighborhoods have popped up. The economy of this town, it frankly boomed with this plant, this particular plant. Now, this plant was a $5.5 billion manufacturing deal with Brian Kemp between Brian Kemp and Hyundai. And Brian gave Hyundai a $2 billion tax break to bring this factory because he knew the type of jobs it would provide to Georgians. So here's the rub. Here's the rub. And maybe this has something to do with it. Maybe this plays into it somehow. Somehow. There are 100 Korean-owned facilities operating in Georgia, employing more than 17,000 people. But Barry Ziegler of local Union 188 had a couple interesting things to say. He's not so convinced that this is good for Georgians. He says, and he's also a business manager, he says he represents plumbers, pipe fitters, welders, and air conditioning technicians, and was furious that 65 of his union guys were let go from this plant several months ago, just when this influx of Korean workers came in. He said, quote, "We went out there and did a great job. No fatalities, no injuries, and then we got replaced by undocumented workers." It was a kick in the knee, is what he said. He said a couple other things. Mr. Ziegler. Sorry, got to get to it. He said, quote, "Georgians were promised those jobs. I don't have a problem with Koreans being here and trying to make a living over here." But then he added, he had a problem with people who are not authorized to work. Quote, "They're stealing our jobs. Could it be as simple as they took our jobs? Could it be as simple as they took our job? They're stealing our job." It's not clear. It's not clear yet. Okay, it's not clear yet. Their lawyer did talk about this a little bit. A man named Charles Cuck. He had a couple things to say about this.
We represent several employees from different Korean companies that were engaged in the plant construction and development. One thing I think that's been unclear through all this is why did ICE and a specific part of the ICE HSI go to this plant? As the reporter mentioned, they were looking for 4 Latino workers. That's it. In fact, when ICE went to this plant, we have now found out they didn't understand that there were a lot of Koreans there. The Koreans were never part of the plan, which is why they didn't even bring a single Korean translator with them. It turns out that the vast majority of these Korean workers weren't pounding nails. They weren't building facilities. They were working on what's called after-sales service and installation pursuant to valid visas in the United States. Every one of these individuals had entered on a visa. They had told Customs and Border Protection why they were here. For those that actually had visas as opposed to ESTA, they had gone to the consulate and explained they were working for companies that were selling the parts of the plant that create the batteries from their foreign companies. It turns out there's only 3 companies in the entire world that actually make the equipment that allows you to make batteries. And none of those companies are in the United States. These individuals were working for those companies in installing the plant so the plant could then employ U.S. workers.
Are you listening, Mr. Ziegler? Mr. Union Boss? Could it be as simple as the job that your boys were hired to do was done? And now they needed these specialized workers from South Korea, the only men on the planet who know how to finish the construction of this highly specialized battery plant. It's time for their job to begin. Your job was simply done here. Could it be that simple, Mr. Ziegler? And he said something really interesting. So as I'm searching for the why these South Korean workers, why this Hyundai plant, could it be just Holman and Trump, or the combination of the two, just did not look before they leaped? They were looking for 4 Latinos. Now they also had orders to seize all paperwork relating to workers, all computer management, technology, anything management related, the computers, the files, anything they had on management and their labor. They were instructed to seize it. They were going there looking for 4 individuals. Their names have not been released, but they were there going for 4 Latino individuals, and they found almost 500 South Korean workers. So the question is, did they know what they would find there, or did they stumble upon it? In that report, the lawyer for the South Koreans said they didn't even have a South Korean translator, not one. That is unusual to not have a translator for the subject that you are detaining. To not be prepared for not being able to speak to them and give them their rights and tell them what's happening. No South Korean translators. Now, there were buses. There were buses seen in the video. I would love to know, did they show up with those buses prepared to ship out hundreds of people? Or did they show up, find what they had, and order those buses to the site saying, hey, we got something way bigger than we anticipated. We need like a dozen buses or more. That detail seems crucial to understanding what happened here. Was it just a screw up, or was it a targeted attack on these South Korean workers? I need to know if they brought the buses with them.
They'll try to repair the narrative, but Brett Breaks Things will be back tomorrow to break it all down.